Hello. This is the most awkward stage of doing a live, but I think I'll just go with it. It's kind of an awkward time. I know there's still plenty of people at work, but I've been advertising for a few days over wanting to talk about the meat industry and pricing that everyone is seeing. And I haven't done anything about pricing in a little while, and so I thought it was a good time to check in and see what everybody is experiencing and explain some of the things that you all are experiencing at your local grocery stores. So I'll wait just a couple more minutes. So I talked about technical difficulties being a mom. My son's my technical difficulties, so it took a little bit longer to get home from school and get him settled and watching something on TV while I come in here and talk to you guys. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Currently in the meat industry, we're seeing some price increases, and that's going to continue happening as a trend up through the summer, I think. I got some really good information passed along from our wholesaler, as well as doing a little bit of research on my own and seeing what's going on, how things are looking, and the reasons for that. So I thought I'd get on here and share. You might hear Drew giggle and laugh in the background. He's watching a show and keeping himself preoccupied while I come on here and do this. So one of the first reasons or main reasons you're seeing some price increases all across your meat prices lately in your grocery store, and I'm not even talking about ours, I'm just talking about grocery stores in general, are that feed costs are 41% higher than they were last year. Or maybe I shouldn't say actual feed costs. Yes, those are increased, but the cost of the ingredients that go into all of the feed for cattle, pigs, and chickens is 41% higher than it was at this time last year. I'm going to glance down because I have some notes. I want to make sure that I hit everything. And it's at a 7-year high for corn and soybeans used for feed. So that's one of the reasons that you're seeing some increases in pricing. And it's expected to only increase to the end of the year. So they're projecting like 46% higher than last year, or the same time last year by the end of the year. It says on this little information sheet that I have that exports to China are contributing also to the high feed costs. So that's one main reason why you're seeing things. It's more expensive to feed these animals that are supplying you with the meat that you buy in your grocery stores. The second main reason, and I've seen a lot of this lately across all industries, is a labor shortage. So it says the largest factor right now, and I've done some more research on my own, is labor shortage. So all of us who are employers, we understand that you are not seeing as many people come in right now and apply for jobs or positions that you have open. This labor shortage is driving prices up because we, and I say we, not me particularly, but restaurants, grocery stores, meat packing plants, feedlots, all of the things that contribute to your meat supply and in that cycle are experiencing lots of labor shortages. I'm going to read this little section out because I thought it was super informative. It comes from an article called The Perfect Storm. So I have read the article in its entirety. It is mainly in regards to the restaurant industry, but it also is affecting industries across all interests. And meatpacking plants and everything are experiencing this as well. Again, the article is called The Perfect Storm. I can't really remember who wrote it, but you can Google it and just put The Perfect Storm restaurant employment shortage, and then you will see it. So it says, this report is based on workers who make $15 an hour. An overwhelming number of these employees can and are collecting 60% of their wages via unemployment benefits. That's $360 a week. Plus, they're receiving an extra $300 in stimulus benefits through September of 2021. If you remember, last year with COVID and all of the closures and everything else, ooh, sorry, my phone is trying to mess me up. Anyway, if you remember last year, you had a whole bunch of plants closed, meatpacking plants, and those industries were talked about specifically a lot because they had some COVID outbreaks and everything else. And then they also had a lot of closures and had a hard time getting open. So stemming from all of the unemployment benefits and the extra benefits for COVID relief, that's what they're talking about in this. And it has been extended through September of 2021, just in case you didn't realize that was still current or it was still ongoing. It is, and it's not just affecting one industry, it's affecting all industries. So it says that's a total of $660 per week. It is worth mentioning that there are no taxes paid on the first $10,500. So at this point, $15 an hour employees are making $21.50 an hour. Add to this last stimulus check for $2,800 per couple and $1,400 for each child. A family of 4 will receive $5,600. This is the equivalent to $267 per week net income for over 5 months. Which brings us to the income tax returns. The IRS reports average tax refunds for $25,000 to $49,999 a year salary, which was $2,608.20. This is the equivalent of 6 weeks net pay for a $15 an hour employee, or pre-tax wages of $161.45 over the same 5-month period as used above. And then it says, so what does all of this mean? Over a 5-month period, the $15 an hour employee receives $1,088 a week after taxes. That's $34.22 an hour before taxes. So for 5 months, an employee can work for $15 an hour, or they can stay at home and still benefit off of the COVID benefits that they are receiving, and it's the equivalent of $34.22 an hour, which is totally crippling a lot of the service workforce, like restaurants, hotels. It's also crippling the meatpacking industry, which you are seeing directly reflected in the pricing of the meat that you are seeing in the counter or being able to purchase in your local grocery stores. This isn't just affecting independent grocers, this is affecting I don't like to say the word, so I'm not going to say the word. Very large grocery stores, big box chains, all across the country. So this is not just in one area or another. This is affecting the entire industry. So that's crippling, but in just easy economics, if you can't get people to work or if something is negatively affecting the supply, the price generally goes up, and you're seeing some of that happen and being reflected. It is also reflected in items that you can get. I've had some friends mention or ask me, well, why aren't we seeing, using a friend, ground turkey in certain places, or why aren't we seeing ground chicken, or why aren't we seeing specialty cuts of certain things? And that is also part of the reason is you're seeing all of these negative forces impacting the meat industry, not only in price, but also in production. So you're just not seeing certain products that you would see before or have seen before. And it's affecting everybody. Like I said, it's affecting small grocery stores, large grocery stores, big box chains, and it's such a bummer because, as we all know, it's hard, especially, most of us don't eat a special diet that doesn't include meat. So that's something I always say, ground beef, milk, eggs, and bread, that those prices for those main items, people notice. So people notice very quickly when meat prices are going up or if milk is going up. And so it's one of the forces. So right now we've covered feed costs, which if you are just now on here and you missed that, feed costs are 41% higher than they were last year to feed these animals that we use for our meat products. 41% higher. That's a ton higher than it was last year. So that is negatively affecting your meat pricing, as well as a labor shortage. And like I said, that's affecting all industries, but it is also affecting meat pricing and what you're seeing in your grocery stores. Next, I have some notes on the different types of meat and what is also affecting them and why that is affecting your pricing. So beef, again, I have notes. I keep looking down. Just bear with me because I don't want to miss it. So I don't know how many of you know, and there are some of you that do know this, that beef is graded. Which means it's the quality of the beef that you're receiving. So, in like your grocery store order book, you are able to select something that's called ungraded, which hasn't, I always say it's like a surprise mystery box. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes if you order ungraded, you get choice quality beef. Sometimes it's select, but we'll go through there. So ungraded, consider it a mystery box. You don't know quite what you're going to get. Next you have select, which is what you see in most grocery stores. These are cuts where you don't see as much marbling or, I always say it's the good fat because there are a lot of people, that don't like to see fat like on the outside of their steaks or the white colored fat that's on the inside of your steaks. This is the easiest way for me to explain it. The less marbling, usually the less tender your beef is. So select, since it has less marbling, this is just the easiest way for me to explain it. It costs less because it's a lower quality steak. Next you have choice. Choice is what you see at like, for us down here, you see that at some nicer steakhouses. I mean, like median range. Like we're not talking vast up in Oklahoma City, but we're talking about, you know, some local restaurants that provide a really great steak. Choice is really marbled. So you've got select. Now we're at choice. You see a lot of choice meat advertised as, you know, choice grade Angus beef or choice grade Hereford beef. And it's kind of, it's just like another way, it kind of makes it sound a little bit fancier, but it is a little bit better quality. So you have ungraded, select, choice. This is where we're at. So choice, think nice steakhouse. Very flavorful, usually really beautiful. If you're me, you think steaks are pretty. Grocery geek thing, I guess. And you see more of that white marbling, like in the middle of your steaks. So it doesn't look quite red. It has some white marbling through it, just kind of like marbling veins. And this means your steak, to me, is more tender and more flavorful. And then above choice, you have prime. And prime is like, is so good. Smell it in your mouth. It's buttery. It has way more fat marbling in the center of the steak. So think like high quality steakhouse. When I say high quality, I mean, you know, those times where you go on a fancy date night and it costs you $200 or $300 to get out of there, type quality. Funny story, I showed cattle at one point in my life with FFA in high school, and I had some calves that didn't quite make it at Oklahoma City, and my parents know me all too well and know I'm a very soft-hearted individual, and I could not dream of eating my show steers. So I just wanted them to go somewhere else. But my parents, bless them, saw a great opportunity because these show cattle had been fed out for so long, and they ate some really, really nice, expensive, fancy feed for forever. And I mean, these two steers were huge. And they took them to Cable's meat processing in Marlow, and well, we ate them. And I can, I remembered at the time we had some really killer steaks. They were delicious. I was thinking, man, we got some of the best beef we've ever got in at the grocery store. This is fantastic. And little did I know, I was eating my show steer who graded out prime. So, I mean, you know, hindsight 2020, he was delicious. But again, that's not your normal calf that you see going to feedlots to be used for, you know, regular boxed beef that you order in at the grocery store. So we have ungraded, we have select, we have choice, we have prime. And that's all we're going to cover today for the sake of this info session. But the reason why these grades are important are, like I said, most grocery stores and what you see is select beef most of the time. Not going to say all the time, because I know that there are times where we have ordered in a choice product or gotten some ungraded in that is choice. So again, it does vary, but run of the mill, you see a lot of select beef in your main grocery stores. My notes say that these meatpacking plants are grading very heavily choice. So select, choice. Since we're grading more choice, it's obvious it's more expensive. You're not seeing as much select and ungraded beef go out to your wholesalers. And for us as retailers to buy it from our grocery wholesaler, you're not seeing nearly as much of that, which is also driving the cost up. The reason, well, I'll get into that. This says that packers are killing between 620,000 and 670,000 head of beef a week. Out of this, less than 10%, so it's a very small number, less than 10% is grading select, and less than 1% is grading what they call no roll, or what I'm saying over like ungraded box beef. Sorry, I see a really good question from Chastity. It says, how can local farmers and ranchers partner with local grocery stores to provide beef and other meat products? So Chastity, that's great, and I'm going to touch on that at the very end of it. I'll be back to you. So it says this is caused by the reason why there isn't as much select or ungraded boxes is caused by both extended time in the feedlots. So the cattle are sitting in feedlots longer because plants are short on labor. Remember, labor shortage. And those cattle that are sitting in the feedlots are eating really expensive feed. So you have like this triple threat of what's going wrong and causing your prices to go up. So they're sitting in feedlots longer because labor shortage, and they're eating fancy feed, or not fancy feed, but very expensive feed, and lots of it. So, blah, 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 blah. And it says, and genetics, due to ranchers have been working on superior genetics for choice grade beef. Again, choice grade, it's wonderful. So again, if you raise cattle that are more likely to grade out choice, you get more money for them. So, you know, good for them for raising these superior cattle and making choice beef. That's what I want to eat. It's delicious, but that's not necessarily what everybody wants to buy in the grocery store, because it is more expensive and you have families to feed. And so once again, there is room and reason for select or ungraded. So we're starting to see the results of that now with farmers and ranchers trying to raise a better quality beef, which is more expensive because they have fed it out longer. There's a lot of science that goes into feeding out cattle and making sure that their weight gains are appropriate for the time that they have them, for the time that they go to the feedlot. There's a lot involved in that. So, so once again, mention FFA, and one of my very favorite things, because it is so true, is nobody thinks about it. Nobody thinks about agriculture, but if you eat, you're involved in agriculture. So this is all good information to know. I never really understood it to the extent of how it really affects people, which is silly because I was younger and I've grown up in a grocery store, but I always think that these are very interesting things for people to know, and knowledge is power, and it helps you in so many ways. And if nothing else, it shows you, and it allows you to understand what's going on when you're seeing prices in your grocery stores, even if that's as far as you go with it. I think it's really important. So back to my notes. It says choice middle meats and thin meats bring a premium cost right now. The food service industry is waking up, and the packers are selling all that they can produce. So we are seeing an influx of the restaurant industry opening up as states are opening up, and that is also putting pressure on the meat industry to produce back to restaurants or food service. We talked last year, kind of right around this time, or a little, well, I guess about a month earlier this time last year, about why you were seeing shortages on products like cheese products or milk products, sour cream and things like that. It was because the restaurant industry was closing, so we were seeing the food service industry plummet, and the need for those products wasn't there. Like, everybody got really distraught and really upset, like people like dumping milk. Or farmers having to dump milk simply because they were being turned away, and everybody was crazy about it because it seemed so wasteful, especially at a time where people couldn't even find gallon milk. Well, just the same way, it's not that easy to take something that's supposed to go to food service and to a plant that makes food service type food or packaging. It's like eggs in food service. You can get like loose egg whites, or not loose egg whites, but like bagged egg whites versus like boxed or carton eggs or things like that. It's not as easy to just switch it over and then start producing like gallon milk for your regular retail consumer. So we're seeing the restaurant industry wake back up. Food service is requiring more food. This is also putting pressure on an already volatile state, I guess, in the meat industry. So high feed costs, labor shortage, grading, and the type of beef that's being produced. And then you're also seeing food service putting pressure on your meat industry as well. All of this affects your price. Once again, simple economics. If you're having negative influences on your market, it usually drives the price up. So I've done a lot of research and reading, and there are a lot of different resources out there, but there's not a whole lot on the food industry themselves making statements. I don't know why. And then I do know why. They don't like to make statements like this because I think that they don't want to put panic on the industry. And I think that it traditionally has been one of those, like, we just won't talk about it. Like, don't deny it, don't comment on it, because they want to keep people calm, which is fine. That's fine in a way. But once again, I believe that knowledge is power. So I feel like you as consumers benefit the most when you have the most knowledge. It might make you more patient with things. It might make you watch prices differently. It might also reflect how you shop, where you shop, and the type of meats that you're purchasing, which I'll round back to at the end. So on pork is another meat that's going up. This one says pork harvest is around 2.5 million head weekly. Isn't that insane? I never even understood. Like, I could have never dreamed that number, but I guess it makes sense. We like to eat a lot of really tasty meats in this country. But it says pork harvest is around 2.5 million head weekly. High domestic and export demands on trim and bellies are driving prices up. They have the same labor issues as beef plants. So pork meatpacking plants are having the same labor shortages that the beef plants are. It says there is not enough help to produce the more labor-intensive items. A good example of this is one-piece back ribs or spare ribs. These are almost impossible to find at this time. So if you don't live in our area, because I've got ribs on my counter today, if you don't live in our area, say you're up near the metro and you've been having a hard time finding certain types of ribs, back ribs or spare ribs, this is why. Says these are almost impossible to find at this time. This, along with the food service industry and spring, has driven these prices higher than I can remember in 38 years in the meat business. This little synopsis from pork is straight from our wholesaler. So our departments, they sometimes put out reports, and 38 years is a long time to be in that business and doing that same job. So I feel like he's a very credible source. I think Barry, the head of meat operations at Affiliated Foods Amarillo, I think he knows what he's talking about. Again, these are swell people with tons of industry knowledge. So you might watch it, or this might be a good time if you find a good deal on something to put a little bit extra in your freezer, if you have a freezer, or just to know that this is why. And then on my last one is chicken. And chicken, you know, all of our kids like to eat some chicken strips. Especially when we go out to eat, which, you know, we can kind of do now, and restaurants are opening up. Breast meat is, the demand for breast meat is increasing dramatically. Restaurants are opening up. We're seeing a lot more kids wanting some chicken nuggets and some chicken strips at the restaurants. And then it says this, along with labor shortages and high costs of feed, is driving up the market as well. So really, I think it's safe to say that this is a very unstable time in the meat industry as far as pricing goes. So these things are all food for thought. Now, I have, and I promised Chastity I would talk about this. Let me make the case to you guys about those of us, my stores for sure are included in this, that have went out and found a way to cut out the meatpacking industry. I've talked about it a lot on social media. I've done some lives where I've mentioned it before. Our two stores source our beef. I'd say 80-90% of our beef. It depends on what's on sale. We have been sourcing our beef from the Stewart Ranch Meat Company. One of our stores is in Waurika, Oklahoma, Shelton's Grocery, and the Stewart Ranch Meat Company and Stewart Ranch itself is also in Waurika, Oklahoma. So last year, when the meat industry was going wild and we had shortages and prices were going up like crazy, we decided that we were going to do something about it. So we took it upon ourselves to go to some sales and buy some cattle. And my brother and sister-in-law own a, this is so silly, a slaughterhouse in Sterling, Oklahoma called Fifth Avenue Processing and Retail. And they are a state-inspected meat processing facility, which means, again, let me explain for those of you that don't know. Any meat product that is sold in a retail location like a grocery store or any little meat market or things like that, they have to have a stamp on it. You might see remnants of the stamp on cuts like roast, or sometimes you can see it on steak. It looks purple. Usually it's purple or pink, or it looks dark blue. So you can see remnants of that on products that you buy. You can also see the stamps like on the underside of like a rack of ribs, for example. Stamps look a little different, especially if they're state versus federal. Like federally regulated meatpacking plants have a different stamp than like a state inspected plant does. But as long as you have that stamp on it, you can sell it in a grocery store. But it has to be inspected. The inspectors are there at the at Fifth Avenue Meat Processing so many days a week. On those days, cattle and sometimes pigs are processed while the inspectors are there. So they're inspected the entire time that they're doing it. And at the end of this, they get that good old stamp, which means that they can sell it like to us, and we can sell it in our grocery store. So for us, we did that for a while, and it was really difficult because, you know, for us at a grocery store, we're looking for a certain size or a certain quality, and you know, that sweet spot's always a little bit tough whenever you're just, you know, looking at a calf running through a sale pen. So we did that for a little bit, and then we got lucky enough to be able to partner up with the Stewart Ranch Meat company through the Stewart Ranch and their family, and we have been purchasing all of our beef directly from them. So we purchase the cattle from them. The cattle are dropped off at Fifth Avenue Retail and Processing in Sterling, Oklahoma. And then I pick them up every Monday in my cool little refrigerated truck, and they're quartered. So they're not finished out there. They're just processed and quartered at Fifth Avenue. And then I pick them up by the quarter and I bring them to our grocery stores on Mondays. And then our butchers cut them off the quarter to provide all of the cuts that you usually see in your meat counters at your local grocery stores. So steaks, roasts, they're all cut out of quarters of processed beef. So we have found some local beef that it's great quality. We love that it's from Waurika because we have a store there. And man, it tastes really good. If you've had some of it, and you can comment on here, I know that they have been the best hamburgers I've ever made in my whole life. Comes straight from Stewart Ranch beef. And like I said, you see about 90%, 80% of Stewart Ranch meat in our counters. We have a little sticker. It's a little round sticker. And if it has that sticker on it, it comes from Stewart Ranch. Which I think is incredible, and it has been one of, I think, the best things that came out of COVID for us as how we do business, because I love being able to support a local ranch because we're rural communities, and so that means something to our communities, and being able to support them, being able to cut out that meat packing middleman. If you're a geek like me and you've paid attention, there's been a lot of volatility with relationships with meatpacking plants and farmers and ranchers, and prices that they're getting, prices that we're getting charged. The middleman, they're making a pretty good living, but there's a lot going on about that. So you can look it up. A whole bunch of states and even the federal government has been looking into it, and so I expect to see more stuff coming out of that, and maybe getting a more fair process and more fair price for everybody involved. But I digress. That's a different thing. So, knowledge is power. There are not very many state-inspected meat processing plants in the state. So if you are a farmer or a rancher out there and you're looking to kind of find something like that, you have to be able to find or get spots in to a processing plant that is state inspected, or else you'll never be able to sell it in a grocery store. It's illegal. So you have to have that relationship, and you also you have to be able to provide a steady stream, because people eat a lot of meat. So that is one thing. You have to look at your production, what you're doing, and being able to provide a steady stream of beef for whatever store it is that you are looking at. Now, I have also seen an increasing popularity since COVID, farmers and ranchers doing this on their own, because they can sell it, you know, like you have people that will buy a head of beef and they will split it between them and their 4 friends, or however many friends, depending on freezer space and how much you like to eat. So you, as a farmer or rancher, you can directly sell to somebody and have it processed, and you can take it to a processing plant and, you know, make your cutting order and get it just how you want it. I mean, there have been times in my life where that has happened, and we've, you know, had a head of beef split between family members, and, you know, you divvy out the ground beef and everything else. But another thing that people don't realize, kind of like, there was a study or something done like that in New York City, asking kids where milk came from, and instead of saying a dairy cow, they say a grocery store. So I think a lot of people don't realize, so in one cow, you can only get so many cuts of steaks. There's only so many. You can only get so many roasts. There's only so many pieces that you can get a roast out of. There's only one brisket. You know, flank steak, like there are limited cuts that you can get on that. Now, if you primarily eat ground beef, I highly suggest you go find someone that's fed out a calf, and you can do something like that if you're looking for that. And if you don't have a grocery store that can provide you with that sort of a cut. You know, for us, when we switched to the Stewart Ranch, We loved being able to work with someone local on supplying your beef, but we also loved that we could keep the price low because I don't have to deal with all of these influences on the market right now. And that doesn't affect me. So we've been able to keep our costs the same and on certain things lower than we did before we were doing this. And so I have been very proud of, like, our stores. We're super competitively priced with beef, and it's a great product. I would even argue a superior product. Like I said, it tastes delicious. So if you don't have something like that where you can find it, then that's one thing. And I hate that for you because it's wonderful. And I love that, you know, you can still have the convenience of going to your local grocery store and picking up a local product. That's great. It's a great price, and it helps everybody all the way around. And everybody can enjoy it, and you can enjoy a steady, stable price. Whereas if you're shopping somewhere else, you know that all they do is order box beef or box pork, which is what we call it, because, you know, you can order like a whole case of a loin and you get 4 different loins in it. Whereas, you know, you don't have that many pieces in one cow. Makes sense? So box beef or box pork, that's one of the things. Now, when I say that we only carry, you know, about 90% or 85, 90, it depends on the day, of Stewart Ranch beef in our stores, it's because we still run a weekly ad through our grocery company. And it's hard for me to be able to run ribeyes on that ad from Stewart Ranch because there's only so many out of one cow. And be able to have a lot of it at whatever sale price. So we will order in, you know, like those items that are on those weekly ad to be able to do that and be able to offer those prices. There's a lot of things on that I could go into, things, you know, that might change, increases in that. And I just want to let you know, if you're one of our customers, that's something that we're watching specifically, and we're watching it daily. So we're keeping an eye on it. We've got some plans. We're going to do our best to make sure that your meat prices are great. And I hope if you don't shop with us that you have a store. I'm all for local independent grocers. If you have a local independent grocer in your area, like, check them out, see what they're doing. You know, they may offer something that you're not even aware that they have. Or like meat, like if we wouldn't stick a sticker on it, nobody would know. So there's that. Now I have seen there are a few other, like local farmers, producers, that are going to plants that are state inspected, but they're selling it themselves, which is great too. Like, if you can do that, that's wonderful. So you can, do some research and you can find some people like that. If, like I said, if you're not in our area, you know, there are some farmers and ranchers that got those super coveted spots at the processing plants. Because with COVID, you saw an influx of people trying to get animals into processors so they wouldn't run out of anything, especially during panic buying and panic shopping. So you have some meat processing plants that are booked out still through next year. So it's not easy to find coveted slots like that. Now, you do have some plants that, like my brother's, for instance, my brother and my sister-in-law's 5th Avenue, they received this really great grant from the state for expansion and being able to provide more slots and things like that for people in this industry, not the grocery industry, just the eating industry. If you're in the business of eating, I'm sorry, I'm a dork. Anyway, so they got to expand their operation, which means that they can get more in, they can get more cut, more produced, more efficiently, so more slots open up, and it was a really great thing. They provide a great service. Shameless plug. 5th Avenue Meat Processing and Retail is great. They have great people that work for them. They provide a great service. He's my brother, but he's a super nice guy, so if you're looking for a place, they're great. But there are a few other ones in the state that also received it, so you can look up, like I said, state-inspected meat processing plants, and be able to do that. There are some people who produce like specialty calves. I say specialty calves like they're fancy, like grass-fed beef, that also do this. They take them to a processor that's inspected, and then they can sell it kind of like a mini little grocery store. So you can find some things like that as well. But that is, you have to find, it has to be state inspected. If it doesn't have that stamp on it, you can't sell it like that. Now you can sell the cow to somebody and have it processed like that, just personally, but you can't have a business selling things without having that purple stamp on it if you're going to sell it that way. Ah, Chris and Kelly. Yes, they are the best. I love Fifth Avenue, and I love my nephews that work there, and I'm telling you, it's a great place. I'm a huge fan, if you can't tell. Family first on that. So that's kind of what I have. So once again, let me make the case for some local independent grocery stores, local farmers and ranchers that are producing this great quality product and being able to find that. But also for all of you, I hope that this explained why you're seeing some price increases or shortages in meat counters whenever you go shop. No matter where you are. Like I said, this is a national problem. This isn't just a Southwest Oklahoma, Lawton area problem. So you are going to see it. And like I said, I've seen on a whole bunch of outlooks that this is going to last well through the summer, into the fall. You never know. It's kind of a volatile industry, so we don't know exactly how long it will last, but just expect to see some pricing changes. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but once again, industry projections from a whole bunch of local news sources and things like that. I won't say local, sorry, not local news sources, national news outlets, you know, talking about even grocery prices going up. And I hate hearing all of that, not only as a grocer, but also as a consumer. I have a family to feed too. So I never like to see when that happens, but you know, labor shortage and things like that, that doesn't just affect one industry, that affects all industries. So we might be talking again here soon about, increase in grocery prices. I'm going to keep crossing my fingers, like an ostrich with my head in my sand, or with my head in the sand, because I really hope that that doesn't happen. I don't want to see large increases across grocery prices. It's not fun for anybody. Sandy, do I think it's a ploy to switch people over to fake meat? I don't know. I have some personal thoughts on that. I know that the food industry is very easily manipulated, and it's manipulated in a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, I do think that you do have a faction of people that would like to see that change. But I really don't think that that right now is exactly what's happening, because like personally, I do know that there is a labor shortage. I do know that as farmers and ranchers, and if you guys watch commodities or things like that, you know how high soybeans are or how high corn is. And I think that that all is directly reflected. Now, I do think like all the I won't say that. I think that there is a lot of literature out right now that, you know, is encouraging that, you know, like a switch to like you know, like a meat alternative. But I don't know. I don't know how close we are to that. So, and I haven't really done a whole bunch of research on it, so I don't really want to say. But I do know that high feed costs, labor shortages, grading problems like that, that's all reflected immediately now. I hope that it's not a ploy. I'll be very disappointed in the world if it is. But like I said, those are just the things that I know. Does anybody have any questions before I jump off of here and go about my day of momming and making dinner for my little dude before I get off here? So does anybody have any questions? No? I'll wait a couple more minutes. Drew's been wandering back and forth inside and outside playing football now that it stopped raining and just getting outside. We hate being stuck in the house, but man, I sure enjoy some rain, so I won't complain too hard. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna see any more questions. If you watch this later and you have a question, please drop it in the comments. I'll be looking back and I'll be answering those. I try to be pretty good. I'm not great about messages. For some reason, my messenger app is never really great. So it might be a day or two before I see something. If that happens, just be patient with me. I promise I will answer. Other than that, I think that that's it. So recap, meat's going up because of feed costs, labor shortages, and all the things that are affected with that. And man, finding a local resource for, like I said, some locally produced beef, kind of like the Stewart Ranch Meat Company. Once again, we have a great relationship with them, and it's worked out wonderful. The meat's great quality. They also, if you are not in like our immediate area of Walters or Waurika, you can order from them online. So it's Stewart Ranch Meat Company. They also have a Facebook page. I'll probably tag them in the comments below. I do know that I have some followers on here that aren't anywhere close to where we're from. So we're getting a pretty good sized community, so some of that's happening. So there are always ways to find a different product, just takes some looking. So I will tag them in the comments below. Other than that, I think that's all I got for you guys today. So once again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we will talk again soon. So, and I'm gonna do a big blog update about the meat industry too, to kind of cover over all of this in that way. So if you missed this or you want some more explanation, you can find it on www.thegrocerygal.blog probably by Friday. So, and I'll include a whole bunch of pictures of Stewart Ranch Meat Company beef. If you are an Instagram person or a TikTok person, I have lots of pictures posted of the beef that we have there, recipes I've made with it. There are Stewart Ranch Meat Company beef recipes on the blog, so you can find that there too. And other than that, I think that's all I got. So we'll talk again soon. I hope you're enjoying the rain and hopefully no severe weather. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.